Athens, the most storied city in Greece, the cradle of philosophy, democracy, and science. The Athenian city-state profoundly influenced not only the ancient world, but the civilizational values and the way of life that we enjoy today. But before the classical period, before the archaic times and the Greek Dark Ages, deep into the dim past, carved with myth and legend, Athena was built. This is the story of the foundation of Athens. The legend of the foundation of Athens is embedded in the early mythical times of Greek tradition, a time well before even the heroic age, a time when gods and goddesses directly shaped the world. The earliest stories of Greek mythology start with a period before the foundation of the city of Athens itself. At this time, the region of Attica first belonged to the realm of a primeval king named Ogyges. According to a legend recounted by Pausanias, Ogyges was said to be an autochthon, the first and aboriginal inhabitant of the land. In another account, he was also said to be a son of god Poseidon. Either way, Ogyges was the first king, the ruler of the tribe of Athens that lived in Boeotia. His realm was called Ogygia after him, and reportedly included area to the south, later known as Attica. During Ogyges' reign, a terrible event took place. A catastrophic flood, which became known as the Ogygian deluge. There are different accounts describing the scope of the catastrophe, some sources associating it with inundation of Lake Kropis in Boeotia, and others more narrowly with Attica itself. Either way, although Ogyges himself managed to survive, his realm and people were devastated. After his death, it is said that Attica was left without a ruler for 189 years. The sources once again differ on who came to power in Attica next. Some of the more obscure legends mention two lesser-known rulers. One is Porphyrion, as recorded by Pausanias in a tradition of the Athenian deme of Athmones. He was said to be the founder of the sanctuary of heavenly Aphrodite on Athmones in Attica. Another one is Colaneos, mentioned by Hellanicus of Mytilene as an early king and a descendant of god Hermes. It is said that this Colaneos erected the temple of Artemis, which was then called Artes Colaneis because of him. The Parian Chronicle, a marble stela inscription from the island of Paros dated to 264 BCE, mentions Actios as the first distinctive autochthonous king of Attica. This was also told by Scamon of Mytilene, a story recounted by Pausanias as well. During his reign, the region was called Acte or Actica after Actios. He apparently had three daughters, Aglaurus, Erse, and Pandrosos, who all bore offsprings, and also a fourth daughter, Phoenike, who died a virgin. His eventual demise is tied to Artemis, the goddess of wilderness and hunt. Apparently, while hunting in the wild, the king saw Artemis while she was having a bath. Outraged, the goddess turned Actios into a stag, before he was tragically killed by his own hounds. The Parian Chronicle puts this event in a very distant legend, counting further 1,318 years before the next known ruler, a king called Krups. Philohorus of Athens, a historian of the 3rd century BCE, regards Actios and his reign as fictitious, instead placing Krups after the reign of Ogyges. In each case, the story of Krups is where the story of Athens really begins. Much like his predecessors, Krups was also said to be autochthonous, born from the earth itself. He also followed suit when it comes to the name of his realm, which he called Kekropia. Geographer Strabo offers a mythical physical description of Krups, having the upper body of a human and the bottom half in a form of a tail of a serpent or a fish. The reign of Krups was undoubtedly marked with development and prosperity. He was the first to introduce the institution of marriage among his subjects, but also navigation, writing and reading, and ceremonial burials. Krups instituted the worship of Zeus as the supreme deity and built altars and statues to the Olympian gods. He built the chief settlement of his kingdom atop of the Acropolis. It was at this time that the gods decided to take patronage over the cities in which each Olympian should receive their own special worship. When it came to Kekropia, the newly founded city on the Acropolis was eyed by both Athena and Poseidon. The two Olympians then raced towards the city, with Poseidon, the god of the sea, arriving first. He thus struck Acropolis with his trident, creating a stream of salt sea water. In the later times, this stream would become known as the Erechtheian Well and was enclosed in the temple of Erechtheus, one of the later Athenian kings. After Poseidon, Athena herself arrived to lay her claim on the possession of the city. She called King Krups to be the witness, as she planted an olive tree on the hill of the Acropolis. As the contest stood at a stalemate, Zeus himself appeared in order to resolve it. In some versions, Krups stood as a judge, deciding between the trident of Poseidon, representing naval supremacy, and the olive tree of Athena, representing peace, resurrection, and prosperity. In other versions, the contest was not judged by Krups, but by the Olympian gods summoned by Zeus. Krups instead stood as a witness of the olive tree planted by Athena, based on which she ultimately won and was awarded the patronage over the city. She thus named it Athene or Athena after herself. Poseidon was unhappy and certainly unwilling to just accept this decision peacefully. He punished the Athenians with a flood of his own before departing Attica. This contest was said to have taken place in the second day of the summer month of Boedromion. The day was hence omitted from the Attic calendar. The reign of Krups in Athens continued and was said to have lasted for 50 years in total. He married Aglauros, the daughter of Actios, and had 4 children, a son named Erysichthon, and 3 daughters, Aglauros the younger, Herse, and Pandrosos. The repetition of some of these names suggests possible confusion among the ancient Greeks on whether some of the princesses were daughters of Krups or his predecessor Actios. Prince Erysichthon unfortunately died during the reign of his father, as he was sailing to the port of Prasiae from the island of Delos. Krups' daughters also had similar fate. Although the details of the legend vary depending on the source, the Athenian princesses were once given a small box by goddess Athena, a box which they were warned never to open. As it always is with the curious human nature, 2 of the sisters, usually said to be Herse and Aglauros, could not resist but to take a look. Inside was the adopted infant son of Athena, Erichthonius, protected by a snake. As they opened the box, the wrath of Athena immediately came upon them. Aglauros and Herse were driven insane and committed suicide by throwing themselves off a cliff. After these tragedies, King Krups was unfortunately destined to pass away without an heir. He was revered as the mythical founder of Athens. He also organized the inhabitants into 4 tribes: Kekropis, Autochthon, Actaea, and Paralia. The Athenians, who were said to be of a Pelasgian or autochthonous origin, called themselves the Kekropidae in his honor during several following generations.